What's up, everybody? I'm John Middlekauff. You know what I need you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got content for days reacting to every NFL game all the time, every single day. Subscribe, like the videos. Let's go. What is going on, everybody? I'm John, this 3 and Out podcast. And before we dive into any football talk, I need you to subscribe to this page. Many of you are, but many of you are not. So appreciate everyone that interacts, leaves a comment, likes the videos, shares them with your friends. We appreciate you big time, especially those of you that send me those YouTube raps. You guys are watching way too much of me, but obviously I couldn't do it without you guys. So means a lot. And today we're going to do a little mailbag at John Middlekauff, It's just my Instagram. DM's wide open. Thought we would, bang out 10 questions and just see what you guys got cooking out there in your football mind. So, again, it's just my Instagram, DMs wide open, and we do a mailbag like 3 or 4 times a week. We will start with Trent. My question is this. I know you said Mac Jones is worth a lot to the Niners, but with the unfortunate injury to Daniel Jones, I think I'd be willing to send him there for a 2. The Colts decided to go all in for the Sauce trade, so they don't have much capital. But it's hard to go all in and then run Anthony Richardson out there. It's also better for the Niners than sending him to Minnesota or Arizona. Thank you for the content. I do think after this year, I mean, I'm recording this going into the Titan game. I think if they win that game, it's very hard to see them not be a playoff team. And Mac Jones will have essentially, I mean, it's crazy. They could still technically be the 1 seed. Seems a little unlikely. I will be a little stunned at this point if they win the division. But they have a home game remaining with Seattle. They're 4-1 in the division. They would not be where they are without Mac Jones. I mean, we saw last year they had Kyle Allen as their backup when Purdy got banged up, and it was a nightmare. Was that 2 years ago they went to Green Bay? I mean, he couldn't even function. And when you have the right backup, you see it with the Texans. The Texans, I think, went 2-1 when C.J. Stroud was injured. Well, Davis Mills is like a legitimate NFL player. Is he a future starter? I mean, I think someone's going to eventually give him a shot, but he's going to be in the league for a long, long time. And when you have a guy like that, they can keep your head above water. And Mac Jones did more than that. I mean, he played really, really well. So, Purdy now, he had a major shoulder injury or elbow injury. Now, he didn't really miss any time beside that NFC Championship game because it was the last game of the season, for the Niners. And a couple years ago, he missed that, trying to think what injuries he's had. He obviously had the turf toe this year. He definitely missed another game somewhere along the line with Kyle Allen, which would have been last year. I don't even remember the injury. My point is, I just think you have to be a little uneasy with his durability where you are pretty aggressive with the backup quarterback. It's not like you're going to pay $15 million, but you really want to feel good about that guy. Partly, too, that if he misses a month, over the next couple years, obviously he's going to be the starting quarterback on the big contract. You have a coach that you can win, games with a random quarterback. But it has to be the right random quarterback. And I'll give Kyle credit. Back-to-back, I guess they skipped a year, but Sam Darnold and Mac Jones, 2 of the last 3 years of backup quarterback, pretty freaking good. So I trust them. I would just be hesitant. Second-round pick, that's pretty valuable. And I think if you're the Colts and you trade a second-round pick for Mac Jones, 1, he's pretty cheap, but 2, then you're just all in on the roster that you have. And I don't know. I think it's pretty risky. They're in a weird spot right now. I feel I've always thought Chris Ballard did a pretty good job. And this year, he got a little out of character. I mean, let's face it. He's made a couple out-of-character moves. And it turned out like the owner forced Anthony Richardson, you need to draft a quarterback. Doesn't really feel like their type guy. And clearly that's been a disaster. And obviously the Sauce move. I thought that was insane. Clearly Sauce, maybe I undervalue him, is a really good player. But, if I'm trading 2 1s for a corner, he better be like Darrelle Revis, And I don't know. I wasn't on board with that move. And that has nothing to do with him being injured. I just thought like, big fan. So to me, I would think about it, but again, you're gonna have to blow me away. Like what? Purdy's gonna have to play the rest of the season, not get injured. I still like, I think about Purdy's injury history. Let me bring up how many games he's played over the course of the last 4 years. There definitely was a stretch. I'm trying to remember. So I guess he just missed the one game, or he missed 2 games in 24. And obviously he's missed a bunch this year. So, and I think he gets a little bit of a pass in the sense of, and you can say it's a freaky injury, but it was a major injury, the elbow injury. Just things that make me nervous. But I get maybe more nervous about injuries than most. Big fan of the show. I'm a Washington State Cougar fan. As you know, blank has hit the fan in the darkest way imaginable. Washington State isn't even relevant anymore. And with the way college football has changed, do you think in order for a dynamic change and more publicity, we need to acquire a big-name head coach? If so, who are the possible candidates? Let me say a couple things. One, I'm not being a dick at all, but no big-name head coach who is, has options is coming to Washington State. And I want to preface everything I'm about to say by this. You guys got screwed. You guys really tried. I would say the same for Oregon State. Football mattered in the community. You took football seriously. There were a lot of programs with the Pac-12 disbanding. Like, you guys were a way better program most of my adult life than Colorado, than the University of Arizona, than UCLA, than what Cal had become probably till right now with hiring Tosh. But you guys got screwed, and you got left behind. The problem is there is no catching up. You're done. I think the best case scenario for you, because at the end of the day, and I put this out this weekend on the old X app, when your coach went to, your coach came from South Dakota State, obviously you know this, was there a year and then just went to Iowa State to replace Matt Campbell. And one and done guy. And how do you blame him? I would rather be at Iowa State than Washington State. You guys don't have a conference. Like, well, the Pac-12, it doesn't exist anymore. It is essentially the Mountain West. So what you guys are now is a non-Power 4 team. And I think for the health of the sport, they need to build a non-Power 4 playoff. Whether that's 8 teams, 12 teams, or whatever, and just separate the two conferences. And I think best case scenario for you, you try to dominate that. Like South Dakota State, like North Dakota State, like Montana, do a D1 AA, and like Ohio State, Bama, Georgia, right, Texas, Oregon, do at the highest level. And you kind of find that sweet spot because you're never getting invited back to the dance, which sucks because you did it the right way. You gave a shit. When you hired Mike Leach, it was a game changer, but you had been relevant when I was in like junior high. I mean, Ryan Leaf was the number 1 overall pick in the draft, or I guess number 2. Peyton went 1. But you guys were in the Rose Bowl. You've had some excellent NFL players over the years. When I was at Fresno State in 08 and 09, like, we recruited against you. You guys were recruiting good players. It sucks. But things change. And I think you just have to adapt the best you can. It happens to us all, right? I'm very fortunate in a business once I kind of went all in on the radio, audio space. I kind of just fell into podcasting. And obviously, I benefited dramatically from getting into it in like 2016, 2017. I know so many people who've been fired in radio the last couple years, and they're so far behind, they got no shot. And I feel lucky that way. And the game changed really, really quick overnight. And when it changes, sometimes things are out of your control. And you're not going to be in the same position that you once were if you want to stay doing what you were doing. And you guys want to, it's not like you guys want to go play D1 AA football, but you're never playing Power 4 football again. It's just the shitty reality. So I think you're better off trying to hire like an alumni, someone like that, who will be pretty passionate about the program, than trying to hire like sweet up-and-coming coaches. Today's show is brought to you by our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. The holidays are here and the sports schedule is packed tighter than Santa's gift bag. Week 15 football games, bowl games, NBA and college hoops, hockey, and a whole lot more. You know that new customers can sign up and bet $5 on any game. And if it wins, you'll win $150 in bonus bets on top of your winning. How do you beat that? That's holiday magic, baby. Not sure where to place your first bet? Hard Rock Bet just launched a brand new For You page, making it easy to find all your favorite teams, players, and leagues all in one place. Plus, the Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook app is the only legal sportsbook whenever you're in Florida. It's also live in Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, Colorado, and Michigan. More states coming near you. Plus, Hard Rock Bet offers new promos daily. Download the Hard Rock Bet app now and make your first deposit. Speaking of the Power Four, Virginia Tech went from lower than 120th in national recruiting rankings to 23rd on signing day. No one's ever argued the man can recruit. I mean, listen, a huge part of college football is talent acquisition. Like the coaching element of it, if you have way more talent than the teams you're playing, like how many games does Kirby truly have to outcoach someone of his 15 games a year? Less than 5. Right now, he has an advantage. He's an elite coach. Same thing with Saban. Same thing, you saw Cignetti, right? Google Indiana's scores this year. They were destroying people. Even Ryan Day in Ohio State. They were killing people. You couldn't score on them. Now, Indiana didn't really score either. But, like, that was a game that they're, like, losing in the second half. And they were talking about in the broadcast. Like, they're not used to being in this position. It's why all underdogs go, hey, when you're playing the big bad wolf, get them in a position where their back's against the wall and see how they respond. And what did Ryan Day do? And listen, it's funny. I stand by, like, my overall take. Clearly, I got nothing personal against the guy. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I think he's a tad bit overrated. I mean, I really do. And his true colors came out in that moment at the end of the game when he kicked the field goal. Like, he works at Ohio State, now with Saban gone, is by far the number one program in the country. In terms of resources, in terms of backing, in terms of recruiting, it has it all. Like, it is a efficient monster. Listen, as someone that I respect the shit out of their operation. But he has unlimited funds to buy any coach. He has unlimited funds to buy any player. He is a good recruiter. Like, he tries hard, so I respect it. No different than Sark or Lane or Lanning. Like, these guys try. They're not like Chip going like, I'll work for you, but I never want to recruit. Well, part of the business is recruiting. But, like, tell me this, Ohio State fans. I think if you ask an Oregon fan, you go, yeah, Dan Lanning's got like Chip Kelly vibes. This is badass. We love this guy. If you ask Georgia fans, you go, this is the greatest coach we've ever had, right? Obviously, Bama fans, with Saban, anyone that's had Urban. I mean, you guys had Urban Meyer. Like, deep down, you kind of know Ryan Day ain't that. He's good. But, like, I could take 15 or 20 coaches and give them Ohio State's operation, and I think they would kick ass and take names. Like, I think they would be really, really good. But if you had an all-time coach, which you did in Urban Meyer, or like Georgia does with Kirby, I think you'd be unbeatable. And the simple fact is you're not unbeatable right now. Indiana just beat you. And I thought they outcoached you. And they kind of out-toughed you. They kind of did. And there's no disputing. I heard Danny Cannell say this. He's like, I was on the field and I picked Indiana, and I wanted to change my pick halfway through warmups because you just look at their roster and you go, it's an NFL team. I do believe this. Like, Fox would trade countless NFL teams, definitely the NFC South, to keep Ohio State's rights to play all their games on Fox throughout the season. They are a behemoth. I say they're an NFL team. And I think the answer is like, yeah, Ryan Day won the national championship. Okay, that's great. Got outcoached against Michigan in a game that, let's face it, just means I can't quite quantify this. I'm not part of an Ohio State or Michigan man. Clearly means a lot. To me, it's when I was a kid, I thought Yankees-Red Sox was like the cream of the crop rivalry. Duke, North Carolina had its moments. I think Ohio State and Michigan right now is clearly the number one rivalry in sports, in collegiate sports for sure. And you could argue, pro sports as well. So I just think that's a stain on his resume. And that game, kicking that field goal, it's like, bro, you're the defending champ. And my point is, like, it just kind of felt like who he was. Like, there's the little insecurity and scaredness to the guy where there's just not with Cignetti. Tell me this, Ohio State fans. If you could choose right now for the next 5 years, who would you rather have running your program? Kurt Signetti or Ryan Day? Just asking. My question is this: with Tom Brady on the up and up and J.J. Watt's great hair, who would you say are the top 3 NFL analysts? Personally, Joe Buck's face makes my screen makes my Monday evening worse. Little script there on your grammar. No big deal. Maria, we were talking about it the other day about like what school's going to look like for our son in 10, 20 years. And I was like, you know what's crazy? When I went, and I'm kidding, I can't. My grammar's terrible. I can't spell or write. But it's like when I went to high school, internet was really kind of taking off, but it was dial up. Google definitely didn't really exist till I was in college, and even then, it's nowhere near what it was now. Uh, it was, you know, I guess it could help you do some homework type stuff, but not really. Like, why would I listen in class now? Once I learned how to, read, basic writing, just the basics. It's like, hey, we're going to teach you calculus. Well, give me the equation. I'll just throw it into ChatGPT. Or here, you need to learn this. Why just type it into Google? I think there are elements, and you can say, listen, obviously there's a creativity element of the brain, but we were talking like, well, you got to learn to write. Do you? I mean, how many people that are listening to this right now that for their job or, whatever need descriptions, like you can use this thing called the internet and Google and ChatGPT and all this stuff. I just think the world's changed so dramatically so fast. I just can't even imagine. Like I thought honestly, like I remember sitting in class and it always bored me my entire life. How could you even justify paying attention now in a lot of these classes? Now I get it if you're going to be a doctor or an engineer, but the majority of us are going to be like general business type people, right? Sales. I just don't know if you're learning that much in high school and college anymore. I mean, if you ever were. Sorry for my TED talk. I've always liked Joe Buck. I mean, I kind of think he gets a bad rap. Um, Listen, I mainly have the sound on in the big games, which I was telling my crew the other day. When you watch like 10 games at once, the one thing that sucks is whatever game, you can't have 4 audios on, right? So you're just listening to one audio and you get a lot of nuggets, right? Like, Tony Romo says, like, the offensive coordinator was mentioning this to us. This guy's not as good. And you just kind of can pick up on a 3, 4, 5 things throughout the game of like, oh, that's kind of what the coaching staff's feeling. They're telling Tony and Jim that. But you kind of miss out on all the like, I don't know what they said on the Bucks Saints game. And I think there's an element to some of the worst games, just I think have a little less, I don't know, they feel lesser than. So I'm a sucker for it. Now, listen, Al Michaels is an absolute legend. He is Marv Albert his last year at TNT. It's rough. Him and Herb Street have had just a weird rapport their whole time. But I think Buck and Aikman are the cream of the crop. I just enjoy, like, I know people say he's goofy or whatever, but sometimes, like, on a Sunday night, I've been watching football for 48 hours straight. Like, I kind of like just an upbeat, optimistic individual. I mean, technically, I guess not technically, in reality, I can lean kind of negative and pessimistic. So sometimes getting a little positivity in my life, I'm all for. I'm with you. JJ doesn't just have good. JJ Watt's been pretty good. Like JJ Watt's pretty just easy listen. I think he's got a chance to just be pretty good, pretty comfortable in his own skin for a guy that's really rich and big name. He's pretty good. Brady's definitely gotten way better, partly because he was so shitty at the beginning. But there is just an element to Tom. Like the two biggest entertainers in my life were Madden and Gruden. And there was kind of this everyman quality to both, right? There was this everyman quality to both guys that you could like run into them at a burger joint and have a conversation and they would talk to you about football. No one was like John Madden, even though John Madden was making $8 million a year to call NFL games in 1993. Like John Madden owns half of the East Bay. Like John Madden's uh, family trust is probably worth hundreds of millions of dollars. John Gruden, like 7 years ago, signed a 10-year, $100 million. These guys are just multimillionaires, but they carry themselves. It's kind of like their vibe. Tom, you see him yesterday with Burkhardt at Green Bay. Now, granted, I would have lasted 5 minutes in that weather. I could not have lasted. It looked absolutely miserable. But he's wearing, I mean, clearly thousands upon thousands of dollars of like some leather trench coat thing that like John Gotti would have wore. And it's like, Tom, there's it's weird because he loves football. So anyone that loves football, he could have a conversation with. But it does feel like this, I don't know, almost like a Jordan type quality. Michael's a little smoother at it and like, yeah, I don't fucking want to talk to you. Where Tom kind of can like straddle the fence about it. I don't know. I think he's still got a little ways to go. Romo, they're fine. I think every football fan has the experience of being on a couch and watching clock management that feels objectively misguided or downright horrendous. I've certainly heard you express bewilderment over many teams' execution on this front. Curious, your thoughts on this seems always occur. Curious, your thoughts on how it always seems to occur that it should, but I'm most interested in your thoughts about the use of timeouts. To me, any use of a second timeout in a close game has to be game-defining importance. All the time, you'll see a coach or quarterback call a timeout in the third quarter or early fourth because they're about to get a delay of game. The notion that a timeout is equal in value to 5 yards, there's a ton of game left to play, is 100% incorrect. Even if I'm down 3 at the opponent's 25 and it's a 3rd and 3, I'm 100% taking the 5 yards. I can still kick and converting it. Totally agree. I'm not bothered by first half timeouts. If you got to use a timeout in the first quarter in a big spot that you feel like whatever. I do think the second half, it is extremely important to not waste any of them in the third quarter. I have a hard time. I'm sure there is one seeing a scenario where on offense you use a timeout because of delay game, and it happens constantly. And this is not college football, so you find yourself, whether you're the Saints or the Titans, or you're the Rams or the Bills, a lot of these games are pretty close in the second half. And when these teams have wasted it, because like you said, on the 40-yard line, it was, 2nd and 4, and the play clock was about to hit 0, and it's like, what are we doing? So I don't know why. I think these guys know that, but I've always defended the clock management aspect of when you're on your couch eating M&Ms, having a coffee in your Ugg slippers, with a sweatshirt on and a blanket over you with your dog laying on you, it's easy to go like, that fucking idiot. What a dumb clock. What is he doing? We've all done it. I'm as guilty as anybody. There is no way that is the feeling on the sideline. When you have a headset on, and if you're the play caller and you got guys talking to you, you got your coach, you got trainer telling you this guy can't come back in, there's a lot going on. The Bears, for example. Clearly they were a little loose yesterday with their clock management at the end of the game. Now, Ben's a first-year head coach. Caleb's in his first year playing real NFL football after I don't even count last year. You're on the road. It's freezing cold. Like, that was a teachable moment, right? That you get up, and it felt like they had a minute 30. Then all of a sudden you look, and it's 30 seconds on the clock. You're like, listen, I'm no, clock manager here, but I'm not sure that this is right. I'm looking for the scenario because if you go to the play-by-play of the Bears game, the last drive by the Bears, so they ran a play on 2nd and 4 to get them to 3rd and 1. They ran the play on 2nd and 4 at 1:17. And they didn't run another play till 35 seconds. I just think that there's a level of urgency. Ben super focused on the play call because it's a big play call. I think it's just kind of complicated, which I defend him a little bit that way. Let me tell you about my friends, my partners, and the official ticketing app of this podcast, Gametime. Do you want to go to an NFL game? If you do, I got you covered. They have tickets to every single event. Even if you want to go to a concert, a comedy show, you name it, they got you covered. They have football tickets as low as $100. There are no added fees, so the price you see When you type in, okay, I'm going to go to the Niners Seahawks game. I'm going to go to the Cowboys Commander game. You type in, you see where you want to sit. The price that you see is the price that you will pay it at checkout. There are no added fees. Doesn't get any easier to use. Cannot recommend the app enough. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets, professional football tickets, with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code JOHN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code JOHN for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Gametime app today. My question is, how do you think Aaron and Mike Tomlin's legacy will be affected if this year the Steelers go under 500 and with Tomlin as the coach? Well, I think yesterday's win was pretty big. I still think that I remember I looked at their schedule yesterday. They got the Dolphins coming up on Monday night. That game's in Pittsburgh. Then they go to Detroit. Then they go to Cleveland, and then they get the Ravens again. They're 7-6, so they got to win two more games to get to 9. I think they're winning 2 more games. I think they're going to go above 500. But let's just say they go 1-3 and they go 8-9. I think it impacts Aaron Rodgers' legacy 0. I mean, literally 0. And the only Tomlin ding it has is like that's kind of his defining attribute right now. It's like, yeah, he won a Super Bowl a long, long time ago. Hasn't won a playoff game in a decade. Like, think how much changes in your life in a decade. If you're listening to this right now and you're 30 years old, think about 10 years ago when you were 20. How much shit has happened in those 10 years? Right? For me, like, I'm 41 technically. Think how much stuff happened in my 30s. And I just think that, Tomlin, what he really hangs his hat on is teams never go under 500. They're always competitive. They're always in the wild card mix. They're usually at minimum going 10-7. I mean, in the last couple of years, they're 10-17. One year they went like 9-7-1, but like several games above 500. So I think this year that there's definitely been some cracks, which, part of it's roster building, which, I mean, only people inside those buildings know truly how much juice he has. A lot of people on the internet tell me he has a lot, which I'm sure he has a lot, but I don't know. Their team is just kind of poorly built. What are your thoughts on Cal hiring Tosh Lupoy and retaining JKS? Are we back? This is a good example that Cal was in the spot of being a Power 4 version of like what I talked about with Washington State, where it felt like they were kind of getting left behind, even though they kind of got a seat at the table. Who knows how long the ACC is going to survive when it comes to football? Notre Dame just attacked it. We've known that Miami, Clemson, Florida State, like they've wanted out. So if that ever crumbles, does Cal get kind of left and Stanford kind of looking? They would definitely try to jump to the Big Ten, and I would imagine the Big Ten would have some interest. But the unique part about this hire is Tosh played for Jeff Tedford. Tosh played at Cal. So his passion for the program, because I don't know if a normal guy in his spot, someone that had worked at Alabama and now is at Oregon, like every guy's just taking the Cal job. So, Ron Rivera is their GM. My buddies on the scouting trail said he's very involved. There was a second once they fired Wilcox, and I watched some Cal games. I mean, I grew up going to Memorial Stadium with my dad and walking up that hill. There were some videos going viral of Ron with the headset, and honestly, I'll give Ron credit because it crossed my mind. Like, I just think, why wouldn't Ron just sign himself to like a 4-year, $20 million deal and just become the head coach? Hire some recruiters and think that he could just out tough and out physical. He's playing the ACC, thinking he can win 8-9 games. I thought he was going to do that. So I give him a lot of credit for maybe he kind of likes this life of being able to kind of have a little more time with his wife, but also still be very involved in football. And, the most important, most impressive thing is they hire the guy. Their quarterback, for those of you that don't follow Cal football, which I do not blame you, would have potentially been, if he would have said, I'm going to the transfer portal, the number one quarterback in the transfer portal. I mean, he would have been definitely a top 2 or 3 guy. He would have had, all the teams in the SEC, any sweet Big Ten team, all these teams that need a quarterback would have been all over him. I mean, big time. And he was such a big recruit. He went to Oregon. He was going to go to Cal. Then he decided to go to Oregon. He got there early, went there for spring ball, realize like, well, I'm not going to be the starter. I'm going to be the backup to Dante Moore, and he's not necessarily going to go anywhere for a couple years. So he like wanted to play because he knows he's good enough, and he just transferred to Cal and he immediately became their starter as an 18-year-old. And he was by far their highlight of the season, which they're a bowl team, but I'm excited because the one thing Tosh, and this goes back to when he worked for Jeff Tedford, Cal, if you remove sports, kind of carries itself like an Ivy League school. They're a public university, and they will tell you they're the number one public university in the world. But they think of themselves like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Penn, something like that. And Jeff Tedford went there, and by a couple years into his tenure, had Aaron Rodgers, had Marshawn Lynch and Deshaun Jackson. Not sure how many classes those two attended, but they were kicking the shit out of people. And the only team they really couldn't beat was the Trojans. But he had them competing to be number one, and Tosh was a part of that as a young assistant coach. And by the end, like he's brown bagging Keenan Allen, getting him to come there. Like Keenan Allen was supposed to go to Alabama out of high school from North Carolina. Now, part of it was Cal did a package deal with Keenan and his brother. His brother was this left-handed quarterback, and Saban, the currency in college football used to be a scholarship, right? I got 85 scholarships. If I'm at Alabama or I'm at Cal, if I give you one, you typically went where you just went to the better program who gave you the better scholarship. And then obviously in the SEC, they'd give you a little brown bag of 20 grand cash or whatever. But now you have this enormous sums of money changing parts. The scholarship is completely irrelevant. I wonder if some of these recruiting visits, scholarship even comes up. But if you do go to Cal, academically, like not everyone's going to be Deshaun Jackson or Marshawn Lynch or Aaron Rodgers. I mean, a lot of you guys that are just going to be play for a couple years and go into the workforce. Well, if you work in business, the Haas School of Business, go fucking work at Goldman Sachs. You go make $350,000 as a 23-year-old immediately in the workforce. So I think he's got a lot of things going for him. He knows that area. I'm really really excited. I think they could be in the next couple years. And I watched some of his press conference. He kind of talks like he's been around Saban and Lanning. Like we're in the talent acquisition business. Like he gets it. Like he's seen the cream of the crop, recruiting the best of the best. I mean, he worked for Saban in his heyday, and Tosh was on a staff with like Kirby Smart, Lane Kiffin, Dan Lanning, Mario Cristobal. Tosh basically worked for Nick Saban from 2014 to 2018, two-time national champ. Lane, Mario, Sark, pretty good group. Kirby. Okay, a couple more. Been watching the NFL my whole life, and I notice certain officials tend to be more trigger happy than others. Does knowing which crew you have officiating the game affect how a team will coach? 100%. There's not a team in the NFL that doesn't go over the assignment the week of the game with the players, with their coaching staff, with their analytical department. Uh, it's definitely a talked about area for sure. College and pro. I was thinking anything stopping owners from giving free money. Diehard Eagles fan, and I was just thinking hypothetically. What if the Eagles trade for Maxx Crosby in the offseason, but they want to keep Jalen Phillips? Is there anything other than scouts honor keeping Lurie from saying, hey, we'll sign you for 3 years, $30 million, but I'll dump another $30 million in your account on the side? If you're caught, you would, I mean, something in an infraction like that, there would be hell to pay. Because obviously, listen, it's a very competitive industry. People are cutting corners. Like, welcome to the private sector. Honestly, to be successful in the private sector, I think you got to have a little renegade to you. If you're following all the rules in everything in life, you're probably going to get passed by. And there's a difference of like breaking laws and like if you're just always going to color in the lines, good luck to you because life's going to be awfully tough. So it happens in all of our industries, definitely in football. But something in the example you gave, there would be a death penalty type situation that if they found out you were paying someone millions of dollars to stay on your team on the side, I don't know if they kick you out of the league, but it'd be really bad. So I think it's more than scouts honor. I think it's part of it is in a weird way, these guys are all business partners. And win or lose, like they're all getting super rich together, arm in arm. They can, the days of like Al Davis and everyone at each other's throats, it's kind of few and far between. The occasional Dan Snyder, where it took till the end for some of his, I guess, people in his corner to turn on him. So I just, may call me naive. I think, again, there's a difference of one thing that definitely happens. You sign with us, we will funnel you sponsorships, right? And when I was in with the 49, or not with the 49ers, but in the Bay Area around the 49ers, you would see their main sponsors, who's their number one car? Like who's the the official car of the 49ers? Toyota. Who has a big Toyota brand deal? Brock Purdy. They have this eyeglass company, Zenni. Well, who are their number one guy? George Kittle. So I think that's a huge element. It's big in the NBA. And again, there's difference of like where Kawhi Leonard got in trouble. It was completely fake. It was a gigantic fugazi. I mean, literally, they just pretended like, hey, if you want to fly around your private jet, we'll just pretend to plant trees and then everything will be good and you can tweet about climate change. It was all fucking fake. Where that to me is like, what is going on? Most of these are at least like, hey, I'm Joe Lacob. I'm in Silicon Valley. You want to come play for the Warriors? We will funnel you into businesses to invest in. I'll hook you up with all these tycoons, and you can get in on the next Google potentially. And that to me is a huge element that I think is happening a lot. The 49ers definitely take advantage of that. Is Mike McDaniel the most hated coach in the NFL? I hear nothing but criticism for the guy, and none of it is ever even about football. Like, he's not an elite coach or anything, but he's far better than a lot of guys. He's made the playoffs twice, and this season, he's now won 4 straight. If you compare him to Stefanski, he's accomplished 10 times more, but the narrative around Mike is he's a failure because he's scrawny, whereas Stefanski is some Ivy League whiz kid. McDaniel went to Yale, I think, even though Mike literally also went to an Ivy League. Okay, you knew that too. I just don't get it. Are people not cognizant of how superficial they're being when viewing McDaniel? Listen, I think we just judge him because he's a goofy looking dude. He's a goofy, nerdy looking guy. And there's an element of Stefanski that just, I don't know, I guess looks smart. I've been saying this forever. No team gets a bigger pass than the Browns. Now that Shador's playing, people are really watching him. And they're like, what the fuck's going on? So one of you guys DM'd me the other day. It's like, and Coward said this. God, they got a good roster. It's like, well, we all hear this all the time, and they just every time you look up, they're 3-12. It's like, what is? And maybe I've been saying this on the podcast. I definitely told other people this. You hear this universally, and I got nothing against the guy. He will get a job immediately if Stefanski's fired. He will. Like that's you just hire this guy. Like he's just like James Franklin was just fired. It's like, yeah, that's James Franklin had been winning. This guy has not been winning. 2-time coach of the year. How many coach of the years does like Belichick has? Who cares? No one's like, no one actually cares about coach of the year. To me, it's the fakest award of them all because we think you're going to be shitty and then you win like 11 games. That's literally how Stefanski's won it a couple times. You know who never wins coach of the year over the last like 7 years? Like Andy Reid, right? I mean, Kyle Shanahan ever won coach of the year? No. Who's going to win it this year? Well, Ben Johnson. And granted, Ben Johnson's been good, but why is he going to win it? Or Vrabel? Because we thought they were going to suck, right? It's like no one's giving it. Matt LaFleur could win 13 games. Like, well, yeah, he's coaching the Packers. Well, yeah, he's doing a good job. So I'm with you. McDaniel, I don't know. People, I don't know. His pants are bad. I mean, the joggers that are way up tight or way up top, like toward the knee. And I got a couple joggers in the closet, so I'm not acting like I would never put them on. But actually, a couple rowback golf ones that aren't bad. Okay, what up, John? Big fan. I listen every day. I do have to give you some credit for mentioning it a couple weeks back, but how is no one talking about Tyler Shough? I listened to you and Colin this morning, and y'all are talking about Shador and JJ, and it makes no sense to me. Those are bad teams. There is an argument Shough is the best looking rookie quarterback outside of Drake May from the past 2 classes. It's a little disrespectful, and no other teams had him graded that high. You always say you have to give credit where credit's due. True. We're also running a business here. And the most listened to podcast in my career happened on a Friday night. And it was when Shador fell from the second and third round to the third day of the draft. I got a call from someone at iHeart. They're like, "Did you find some magic sauce?" I'm like, "No, this guy named Shador Sanders. He's just fallen in the draft, and it's like the biggest story in America right now." And JJ McCarthy, like, I don't know why we have a huge Midwest contingent. The Vikings have a lot of fans, and that story really resonates with people. Like, I'm not like what we talk about things. One, I talk about things that excite me, but there's a reason that certain franchises rarely get talked about. That I would go out of business if I did it consistently. Now, I'm not afraid to talk about Tyler Shough, just like I'm not afraid to talk about the Saints. But at 3-10, talking about a quarterback that most fans, and again, I'm not playing. I'm trying to plant or throw as wide of a net as possible out here. Could point Tyler Shough out of the lineup. He went to prom, not with, but in the same limousine with their chicks, as Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's been in the league. This is year 4. So I think it's kind of a unique story. He's really old. His path was crazy, and your team is just out of sight, out of mind. And it's no disrespect. Like the Browns Titan game would not matter to a soul beside fans of those two teams. The moment Shador starts for that, in that game, people are paying attention. And JJ McCarthy is a massive story. National championship at Michigan, drafted extremely high, proceeded, or, Sam Darnold obviously leaves, he comes in. And I just think that we know what we're doing. So I, to think that, Tyler Shough, looking at his box score here, because every time I look up, he had some big runs. I will give him that. I looked, he had a couple really nice runs. He did go 13 and 20 for 144 yards and an interception, no touchdowns. And again, I am box score scouting a little bit. I had the game on, but I'd be lying if I was super dialed in. The Bucks have kind of lost me. I mean, they're playing so bad. They're an awful watch. Uh, the SEC is really, really big, and it drives enormous television ratings. Alabama, from a rating standpoint, goes toe to toe with everyone in the country, basically except like Ohio State, which is I think the biggest rating draw with Notre Dame and Texas. But the Georgia, LSU, I mean these teams are cash cows. I've been saying this for a while, and this is no shade at the Saints. I'm Doug Nussmeier, Kellen's right hand guy. I love that guy. I'm rooting for them to get it turned around, but like I would say the most irrelevant division right now in terms of what I do is the NFC South. It really is. So unless it's something Tampa related, I think with like Baker, and this is a little inside baseball, but listen, it's what we do here. And so we're not no one has anything against Tyler Shough, but the Saints are just very, very low on the list of making sure the lights are still on, you know? So again, props to him. The couple rushing touchdowns were nice. But 24-20, you guys beating Tampa, which is a nice win. You guys scored 17 points in the second half. Hey, something's off with Baker. 122 yards passing, only 14 completions, averaging four yards a pass. How many yards did Mecca only had 2 for 15? They ran the ball pretty well too. They had 180 yards rushing. But I'll be honest, I wasn't super locked in on that bad boy.